Happy Saturday morning, everyone, and today we are going to make some pot roast in the crock pot, and it's a pretty long process, so we're going to start on it this morning, and it'll probably be done late tonight and be ready for tomorrow, maybe later tonight, but we'll have to see. Well, anyways, I'm going to show you the list of ingredients, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and list out the ingredients we're going to use today. We have our top round beef roast, olive oil, our red wine, some pepperoncinos, all-purpose flour, some Cajun mustard, mushrooms, onion, some soy sauce. You can use Worcestershire sauce. I don't like Worcestershire. Some tomato paste, garlic, paprika, and some chicken stock. Now you could use beef stock, but I don't really like beef stock, so I usually just either buy chicken stock or fish stock. I've made one more addition to the recipe. We're going to do 4 stalks of celery, so I've chopped those, and we're going to go ahead and pour those into a crock pot. And I've taken 1 pack of mushrooms and washed them off in a colander and went ahead and added them to the celery. And next we're going to chop 2 onions. So as you see, I am peeling the onions first, and we're going to chop them in half before we dice them. And this onion skin I'm going to save to go into my garden, and it makes for good compost. So you see, we're just cutting them in half and taking off the first layer. And like I said, this will deteriorate and make for good compost if you yourself are a gardener. Okay, that's good. We've now chopped our 2 onions into about quarter-sized pieces, and this is going to go into the crock pot along with our celery and our mushrooms. And as you can see, we've transferred our mixture to a larger cast iron pot, and one good tip is to make sure the crock pot you plan to use is large enough to hold your ingredients, but that's okay. Like I said, cooking is more of an art than a science, so we are just going to adapt it. It's the same basic technique. You cook it on low for a longer period of time. And okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put in, this is about a half of a can of tomato paste, a small 6-ounce can. We used half of it the other day for our wing recipe. So we've put in our 3 ounces of tomato paste, and now we're going to put in some of our extra virgin olive oil, and it's probably about 1/4 cup. And now we're going to take some of our red wine. You can use really any kind you want. This is a Malbec, but you can use Merlot or Shiraz or really kind of anything. And I'm going to do about 1 cup in here. So now we're stirring in our tomato paste and our red wine, and the stove's already on between medium and low, and this was kind of some of our ingredients starting to melt a little bit. So first thing, let's take some of our Creole mustard, and this is going to be about a tablespoon, maybe 1.5 tablespoons. And next we're going to take our soy sauce, about a teaspoon of that. Like I said, you can use, if you prefer, you can use Worcestershire sauce. It's not my favorite thing to use. And now we're going to take our garlic and parsley, and we're going to use about, if I can get the bottle open, just so the top layer is coated. I would say this is probably about 2 tablespoons. And some of our smoked paprika. A little less of that, maybe 1 tablespoon. Just put in about 8 or 9 pepperoncinos and a little bit of the vinegar they're packaged in. And now we're going to put in just a little bit of all-purpose flour. And give that another stir. You might add some more flour in a little bit, but that kind of gives it the texture, the kind of gravy texture you want. So we've taken our beef roast and put it over our vegetable mix in the pot. You just want to make sure that it's not overly crowded. And so next thing we're going to do is take our stock. I'm using chicken stock, but you can use beef stock or vegetable stock if you like. And we just want to put in enough to cover the surface of our vegetables and our beef, and leave there enough room to steam. Over that, we're gonna put a little more of our all-purpose flour and another 1/4 cup of red wine. Okay, and just gonna stir that up a little bit. And now we are going to put on our lid and check back later. And this really is a longer process, so I'm going to check back in approximately 5 hours and see how things are looking. So our roast has been cooking for a few hours at this point, and the next thing we're going to do is take a fork and pull the meat apart and let it continue to simmer for a couple more hours. So I've pulled apart the roast, and like I said, it's just going to continue to simmer for a while. But as you can see, the flour we added, and it's starting to thicken a little bit, and as it starts to, the protein in the beef, as it starts to break down, it will become more and more tender. So this still needs another hour or 2, but it's definitely coming along nicely. And we are back. So our beef and vegetables has been cooking for about 6 hours at this point, and as you see, it is now very tender. And so for the last few minutes of cooking, we're going to put in a little bit of cornstarch, and stir that in just to get a little bit more thickening. Maybe just a little more. And this is Argo brand cornstarch. Hey everyone, so our beef and vegetables is done, and I'm going to have a roll with some of our shredded cabbage, and I'm just going to take a piece of beef and some mushroom and celery and onion. There you have it.